Hello, I'm Dr. Ethan Greenwell. I still remember one night, waking up at 2 a.m. The room was so quiet that the only sound I could hear was the ticking of the clock. I turned over, feeling the tension in my back, as if my body was reminding me that age no longer allows me to take sleep for granted. Maybe you've experienced that too, restless nights, waking up exhausted, sometimes even with a sharp pain running down your back. Many people think that insomnia only makes the mind foggy. But in reality, every sleepless night is a silent battle inside your body. Stress hormones, cortisol rise, and our bones, already weakening with age, start to erode even faster. As a physician with more than 30 years in community health, I've seen countless patients suffer fractures from something as simple as a small fall in their bedroom. And the truth is, much of that could have been prevented if we had understood how to check and listen to the body sooner. In today's video, I want to share with you when you should get a DXA scan to measure bone density, how the Frax tool can give you insight right at home, and some simple changes you can start today to not only sleep better, but also protect your bones, the foundation for every step you take in life. Have you ever wondered, why does losing sleep make my bones weaker? It sounds strange, but science has made it very clear. Once we pass 50, the body works differently. Our bones don't rebuild as strongly as they did when we were young. Each year, we can lose about 1 to 3% of bone density, and for women after menopause, that loss can double because of the sudden drop in estrogen. That's why even a small fall can lead to a hip or spine fracture. But insomnia is the hidden culprit. When you toss and turn at night, cortisol, the stress hormone, rises in your blood. And cortisol doesn't just make you tired or irritable. It actually blocks the formation of new bone cells, slowly weakening your skeleton over time. Study showed that people with chronic insomnia had a 20 to 25% higher risk of osteoporosis compared to those who sleep well. And then there are the little things: smoking, alcohol, lack of exercise, or having a parent who fractured a bone, all stacking up to raise the risks once you're past midlife. Here's what's most concerning. Many people think, oh, it's just insomnia, I'm only tired. But in truth, it may be a silent warning from your bones. Sleep and bone health are more closely connected than you might imagine. Every good night's rest not only clears your mind, but also acts like a natural medicine for your bones, protecting you from fractures in the years ahead. So if you've been lying awake night after night, don't see it as just a sleep problem. Think of it as your body ringing an alarm, a reminder that it's time to care for your bones as well. I once had a patient named Margaret, 67 years old. She came to see me after a small stumble in her backyard that left her with a fractured wrist. When I asked her about it, she just smiled and said, "Oh, doctor, my bones are fine. I just tripped. That's all." But when we ran the tests, it turned out her bone density had been dropping for many years. If Margaret had had a bone density scan earlier, that fall might never have led to months of pain and recovery. That's why today, I want to talk to you about a very special test, the DXA scan. Now, it might sound complicated, but it's actually one of the gentlest procedures in medicine. You simply lie flat on a table, and the machine scans over your hips and your spine. No loud noises, no needles, no pain. It takes only 10 to 15 minutes, shorter than the time it takes to finish a hot cup of tea. Yet the results are powerful. They tell us whether your bones are strong or quietly weakening beneath the surface. You may be wondering, do I really need this test? I walk just fine. The answer depends on your age and your risk factors. In the U.S., the guidelines recommend that women over 65 and men over 70 should have a DXA scan, even if they've never had bone problems before. And if you're over 50 with risk factors like chronic insomnia, a history of minor fractures, or long-term use of corticoid medications, you should really consider doing it sooner. Let me share another story. My neighbor, 72 years old, walked every morning and felt confident that he was strong and didn't need any tests. Then one day he slipped on the steps outside his house, and this time it was a hip fracture. If he had done a DXA earlier, a doctor could have guided him with supplements or medication to protect his bones. Instead, that accident kept him bedridden for nearly half a year, and it took away the simple joy of his morning walks. What I want you to take away is this: DXA is not just a test, it's a doorway. A way to know exactly where you stand in the fight against osteoporosis. It's like looking into a mirror, but instead of seeing the wrinkles on the outside, you see the truth hidden deep within your bones. People sometimes tell me, Doctor, I'm scared of machines. Hospitals make me nervous. And I get that. None of us want to feel like patients. But here's what I always say. 15 minutes of a quick DXA can save you from decades of fractures. The cost of those 15 minutes is nothing compared to the cost of a hip surgery. You see, the real question isn't whether we're already sick or not. It's whether we're brave enough to shine a light and catch the problem early. A simple check can give you something priceless. Freedom. The freedom to walk, to hold your grandchild's hand in the park, without worrying that one misstep could change everything. So I want to ask you, are you willing to give just 15 minutes to find out if your bones are strong or fragile? And that brings us to the next key point. Beyond DXA, there's another tool you can try at home. A tool that calculates your risk of fracture in the next 10 years. It's called Frax. Now, after hearing me talk about DXA, many of you might be thinking, I'd like to get checked, but I'm not quite ready to go to the hospital. I get it. Walking into a clinic isn't easy for everyone. But there's a simpler way, something you can do right at home. In just a few minutes on your computer or even your phone. It's called Frax, an online tool developed by the World Health Organization. Frax works like a mirror into the future for your bones. You just enter some basic information: your age, weight, height, medical history, and habits like smoking or drinking. And it calculates your risk, the percentage chance that you could break your hip or another major bone within the next 10 years. I remember one patient, Linda, a 55-year-old elementary school teacher. She came to see me because she had been struggling with insomnia for years. Her mother had fractured a hip at 70. When we tried Frax together in my office, the number that popped up shocked her. Her fracture risk was nearly 30% higher than average. Linda sighed and said, I thought I just needed to sleep better. I had no idea this was hurting my bones too. From that moment, she chose to go for a DXA scan and began making lifestyle changes to lower her risk. The beauty of Frax is that you don't need a medical degree to use it. Anyone can fill it out. And more importantly, it gives you something tangible, a number. Instead of worrying vaguely, you now have data you can bring to your doctor. My Frax score shows an 18% risk. What should I do next? Believe me, doctors deeply appreciate this kind of proactive approach. Of course, I need to remind you, Frax is not a replacement for DXA. Think of it like a map. It shows you where you're headed, whether you should keep going, stop for a check, or take a different turn. If your Frax risk is low, you can feel somewhat reassured. But if it's high, that's your signal to talk with your doctor about DXA or other preventive steps. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sat down and entered numbers about your own health, just to catch a glimpse of the future? Many people avoid it, afraid of what the number might say. But I believe that knowing in advance isn't about fear, it's about preparation. Here's the small lesson. Information is power. When you have a concrete number from Frax, you're no longer in the dark. You're no longer confused. Instead, you have a clear direction, whether you need more tests, a lifestyle adjustment, or a little extra support for your bones. And sometimes, the simple act of sitting down and filling out Frax becomes a turning point. You start paying closer attention to your diet, your sleep, even the way you move around your house. That's the positive ripple effect of knowing your risk. In the next part, I'll share more about the powerful connection between insomnia and osteoporosis, why a single sleepless night doesn't just leave you tired, but quietly chips away at the strength of your bones. This is where science and everyday life meet, and I believe it will completely change the way you think about sleep. I know many people often think, it's just insomnia. It can't possibly have anything to do with my bones. But the truth is different. Our body is a tightly connected system, and when sleep is disrupted, even parts we don't usually associate with it, like our bones, can quietly suffer. Science has shown this clearly. When you lose sleep, the level of cortisol, the stress hormone, rises in your blood. Cortisol doesn't just make your heart race or your mind anxious. It also blocks the body's ability to rebuild new bone cells. And bones that are already weakening with age begin to break down even faster. In other words, every sleepless night is a small step closer to osteoporosis. I think of a patient of mine, David, 68 years old. He came to see me because of chronic back pain. He said, Doctor, it's probably just from sitting too much. My bones are fine. But when we checked, his bone density had dropped significantly. On top of that, he had once slipped lightly in the bathroom and ended up with a fractured rib. That told us his bones weren't as strong as he believed. When I asked him about his sleep, he admitted, I've had insomnia for almost 10 years. I wake up in the middle of the night, every night, And there it was, years of poor sleep had quietly eroded his bone strength. The warning signs often whisper rather than shout. Lingering back pain, a gradual loss of height compared to when you were younger, or a minor fall that unexpectedly leads to a fracture. Too often people brush these off, thinking it's just aging. But really, they are the body's way of saying, pay attention. So let me ask you, when was the last time you had a truly restful, deep night's sleep? If it's been a long while, don't think of it only as daytime fatigue. Remember, your bones may also be paying the price in silence. The small lesson here is this: taking care of your sleep is taking care of your bones. A good night's rest doesn't just clear your mind. It acts like the most natural medicine for your skeleton. Sleep is the time when your body repairs, rebuilds, and lays down those strong bricks that form the foundation of your bones. And in the next part, I'll share with you some simple solutions you can start at home, from ways to improve your sleep to little daily habits that can make your bones stronger. Believe me, sometimes just one small change can become a turning point for your health. When we talk about health, many people imagine big, overwhelming changes, spending hours at the gym, taking handfuls of supplements, or completely overhauling their diet. But the truth is much simpler. After decades as a doctor, I've learned that it's the small things we do every single day, repeated over time, that truly change our lives. Let's start with sleep. A good night's rest is a priceless gift, not just for your mind, but for your bones as well. Try going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. Our bodies love rhythm, just like a finely tuned clock. About an hour before bed, turn off the TV, the phone, the computer, so that the blue light doesn't trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime. A warm cup of chamomile or lavender tea, along with a few minutes of deep breathing or meditation, can be like a gentle good-night gift you give yourself. And beyond sleep, let's remember the bones themselves. Every day, they need just a few simple ingredients: calcium, vitamin D, and movement. A glass of milk, a handful of almonds, a few minutes in the morning sun. These are the bricks that keep your skeleton strong. Don't forget light exercise. A walk around the neighborhood, a few yoga poses, or lifting light weights. These habits don't just strengthen bones, they keep your heart and your spirit flexible too. I also want you to think about your home. It may feel safe, but sometimes it hides silent risks. A loose rug, a dark staircase, a missing handrail. Each of these could lead to a dangerous fall. With just a few small adjustments, clearing the walkways, adding a nightlight, installing a sturdy handrail, you take a big step toward protecting yourself. I once had a patient, Robert, 72 years old. He told me, "Doctor, I don't think I need to exercise anymore, not at my age." I asked him just one question. "Robert, do you want to be able to walk out to your garden, to admire your flowers every morning, without someone holding your arm?" He went quiet, then nodded. Soon after, he began with slow steps in his living room. A few months later, he was walking around the block with a smile on his face. So you see, you don't have to change your whole life all at once. Just start by sleeping better tonight and adding a few extra steps tomorrow morning. Those small acts, built up over time, become a solid wall of protection against fractures and the fears of aging. And in our final part together, I'll help you look back at everything we've covered to see how just a little attention, given at the right time, can help you take charge of both your sleep and your bone health. We've walked quite a journey together today, from realizing that insomnia doesn't just leave us tired, but quietly weakens our bones, to learning about DXA, a quick test that could change your future, to discovering Frax, a small mirror that reflects your risks ahead, and finally to those gentle, everyday solutions you can start right inside your own home. I want you to pause for just a moment and ask yourself, am I really listening to my body? Because our bodies are always sending signals. That nagging back pain, those endless sleepless nights, or a minor stumble that takes far too long to heal. These signals aren't meant to scare you. They're reminders. It's time to pay attention. What I've learned over 30 years as a doctor is this: health doesn't come from one big, dramatic decision. It comes from the small choices we repeat every day. You don't have to change your entire life. Just begin by sleeping better tonight, taking a few extra steps tomorrow morning, eating a calcium-rich meal, or checking your home for fall risks. And when needed, don't hesitate to talk with your doctor. Consider a DXA scan, or try Frax to see where you stand. I truly believe that every one of us, whether at 50, 60, or 70, deserves a strong, steady body that lets us keep walking freely, holding a grandchild's hand, tending a small garden, or simply standing up from our favorite chair without needing help. If you found today's talk helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and share this video with family and friends because maybe they too are quietly struggling with insomnia or bone loss without realizing it. Who knows, one small action from you today might help them avoid a fracture tomorrow. And remember this, your bones are the frame that carries your life. Treasure them, care for them, and start today.